But the thing about NBA DFS is that it's the most mathematical. It's the math could solve your problem more so in NBA with less risk than in any other sport. Because essentially, like I explained in previous Periscopes about DFS as a concept, is we're trying to project distribution of fantasy points from sports-related actions, right? In NFL, like a wide receiver can't score points. No one can score points unless they're on the field, right? They need to have opportunities. If they don't have opportunities, doesn't matter what they do with it, right? The guy in the 12th guy on the bench in NBA, like, he could be the greatest player. I don't know why he would be the 12th guy if he was the greatest player, but you can't get any points if you're on the bench. That's the one biggest concept of DFS, that people, I'm going to play this guy that's the 9th guy in the rotation. He's 3,500, and maybe in a blowout, he'll see 12 minutes. It's like 12 minutes ain't going to cut it, because no one can make that big of an event in NBA. That you need minutes, you need opportunities on the court. Then once you're on the court, it matters of how many opportunities do you get distributed between the 5 people on your team, okay? So that's usage. So really, you're looking at minutes, you're looking at usage. That's the big structure of daily fantasy. And you're also looking at, from a cash game perspective, you want to optimize for opportunities, okay? You want the safest probability of their median projection hitting. And in NBA, it's the lowest variance. The probabilities are much higher than other sports. In NFL, good probabilities would be 50, 60%. NBA, you'll get some depending on their price, you'll get some of these guys in NBA with 90% expected probability of hitting their 5x whatever value, that you just plug them in. I mean, maybe their ceiling is lower, but you're more likely to go, well, this guy is going to get between 30 and 33 minutes. Can he hit 5x in 30 to 33 minutes? I mean, like, you have fantasy points per minute. We have an historical, how the team plays and everything. As long as they get the opportunity, they're probably going to produce within a certain narrow range of outcomes. So you're looking for those types of guys in cash games. You want to build a lineup that's core around that, around opportunities. And that's why positionally, the most highest variance positions are shooting guard and small forward. Now, I know on DraftKings, it depends on where the player is, in the positional slots that they list them as. But I'm talking about on the floor as a basketball team. The wing players typically make most of their points from shooting, which means they need to get the ball in their hand and be the last person, the last thing that happens, okay? The lowest variance positions are going to be one of 3 types of players, okay? Remember, you need the ball in order to score fantasy points. You need to touch the ball in some extent, right? Either you're shooting, you're passing to a guy that then will shoot, and then you get the assist, or you're grabbing a rebound. You're still grabbing the ball, right? Yesterday, Terrence Ferguson wasn't going to do much. He had a lot of opportunity minutes-wise, but on the floor, he doesn't touch the ball that often, right? So, less of a floor there. So the 3 types of players that you're looking for a floor are going to be people that have opportunities on the court, have the most amount of opportunities touching the ball, and those positions typically are 1, point guard. And I want to use the term, don't really want to use the term point guard, ball handler, okay? Not someone that's listed as the point guard, but someone that carries the most amount of time that they have the ball on their hand for their offense. We see a lot of times we saw last year with the Cavaliers. Like, George Hill is the point guard, but really all he's doing is bringing the ball up to the court and then giving it to LeBron James, right? So it doesn't matter that he's listed as the point guard. He's really a shooting guard. He's really a wing player. So don't worry about the actual, what they're listed as. But you want ball handlers, you want high usage guys. They may not get the ball and handle the ball and dribbling it around, but they shoot ridiculously more percentage of time for their team than anyone else, regardless if they're the point guard or they're whatever position they are. And the third type is a center. center, big guy near the basket. The concept is that the closer you are to the basket, the easier shots that you have to take and the more rebounds that you can get. Right? The closer, the guys, the wing players that are far away, likely not getting rebounds. Their scoring is typically dependent on jump shots. They're typically the last line as far as when a play is over, right? They get past the ball. They're less likely to then pass the ball somewhere else if they're playing on the wing. So those players tend to have very low floors. They may have high ceilings depending on their usage, but you're typically not looking for those types of guys in cash point per dollar wise. Obviously, if they're min price, like if someone's going to be on the court 30, Carmelo Anthony, if he's 30, if he's going to be on the court for God knows how long and whatever, right? And it's 3K, sure, but the price mitigates the risk, right? So you can have a high usage guy like we have James Harden tonight, against the Pelicans, who don't play very good defense. Houston's playing at home. They're fast-paced team, right? So you go, well, Harden's safe, but he's also 11.5. I mean, what's 5x for 11.5? That's almost 60 points, right? He's probably not gonna dud, right? But I think he's efficiently priced. 11.5, he's efficiently priced. You have to use all of that information to then go down the salary list and go, who is efficiently priced, who is inefficiently priced, positively or negatively. Now, the reason why a lot of touts or writers or whoever that you listen to a podcast said that NBA is more based around, you're going to do more from the 2 hours before lock than any other sport, or at least the day of, is that those distribution of points and those opportunities, DraftKings and FanDuel come out with their pricing the night before, the day before, right? And if all things remain the same pretty much, it's going to be somewhere close to efficient. Those are the days where you wake up in the morning and go, there's really thin value. I can't find, everyone looks fine. I can't find a $4,200 player that really should be $4,800 player. Those types of things. But then what ends up happening is that throughout the day, you see, oh, so-and-so is questionable. Or so-and-so is doubtful. And then this guy will be starting for him. And then you go, well, if that guy starts for him, that doesn't necessarily you play the guy that's going to be starting. You play the guy that's going to be more positively impacted by that change that is not reflected in the salary that the sites have put out the night before. That's the number one thing that you're looking for. Now, obviously, on this first slate, I mean, it's the fucking, some of the people are kind of mispriced because we don't really know as much. New players on new teams, the sites have to adjust, that type of shit. But that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for going, if you're playing cash, typically in cash, I try to play two centers. They're the lowest variance position, typically. Now, obviously, the variables outside of that are foul trouble and blowouts. And for cash, typically, I do not take that into account. If anything, it's a tiebreaker, right? And in blowout, quote, situations, I'm more likely to not care as much if it's a favored player. Because if they're going to blow someone out, if the Rockets are going to blow out the Pelicans tonight, most likely Harden, Paul, they may not have made ridiculous value. They may not have gone 5-6x. But Harden will put up 45 points. I mean, he'll put up enough points. Durant and Curry on the Warriors, they'll pull up enough points. But if you take Anthony Davis and he only plays 26 minutes because they got blown out, you're done. Because they didn't score enough points. That's the reason why they were blown out. So that's the tiebreaker. We see the Raptors game, the Raptors versus the Cavaliers tonight, that type of shit. That I'm less inclined to play Cavaliers than play Raptors. But then you also have to take into account how big their rotation is. Remember, there's a pie, right? Where's my pie? I have my doodle, my pie doodle, right? All you're doing is saying there's going to be this pie, and who gets the pieces of the pie, right? How big are their pieces going to be? And that's why a lot of people, they look at high total games and go, oh, big pie, right? And they don't look at low total games. They don't look at Sacramento, Utah, and go, look at this little pie. Yeah, but someone in that game could have ridiculous portion of that little pie compared to their salary versus someone in this game. I take a look at the Rockets Pelicans game, and to me, everyone is pretty much efficiently priced. Like they're not bad. No one's a bad play, but none stand out as something. I don't look at Drew Holiday at 7,500 and go like jam him in. I'm like, okay, what's 40 fantasy points? Okay, I guess I could see that. AD, sure, I guess same for Harden and Paul. I look at that game. I go, the only guy in that game that, of course, his range of outcomes is going to be much wider, so maybe not a cash play, is Alfred Payton at 5,300. Because what do you need out of him? 25, 26 points to make 5x? But, I mean, he has upside to get 40 points. He also has downside to get 12 points. So I take a look at that. For 5,300, I'll take a shot. Harden, like, if you put Harden in your GPP lineup on an 11-game slate, you better hope he gets 70 points, right? You're typically, in GPP, on larger slates, Stars and Scrubs is not going to win. That construction type is more of a cash construction type. Because the whole goal, I mean, if you're going to, on an 11-game slate, you may have to put up a 400-point score, right? And in order to put up a 400-point score, typically what's going to end up happening is that mid-price guys go for 8x, and the high-price guys just go for 5x. They give you raw points. You'll hear that term a lot on podcasts. On shorter slates, 2, 3, 4-game slates, you don't need 400 points. You could probably win a GPP with maybe even 300, depending on the night. So then you just need raw points. Then it's like, I don't care if Harden only 5x's or 6x's. It's like, okay, just lock in the raw points and I'll find the overperformers elsewhere. But on a very large slate, typically if you're going to go and you can take Harden, you can take Giannis, right? They both have to put up 70-point games to make up for all the other people that are in your lineup. Because a guy that's 4K, they go 8x, that's 32 points. Raw points-wise, it looked great value. But raw points-wise, it's not as much. So if you do Giannis and Harden or something, or AD or whatever, and they get you 50, 55 points, which may be the most amount of points for anyone on the slate, but they're over 10K, right? And the other guy goes 5x, that's 4K, that's 20 points. You ain't winning a GPP that way, right? You need your studs to go nuclear in those situations. You're much better off on a probability level of doing a construction where you're taking guys in the 7K, 8K range and hope they go nuclear to match a stud salary. So you're getting 2,000, 2,500 worth of production that you didn't have to pay for. So if you're going to play hard, you're going to go, I'm going to either play Harden or I'm going to play Hassan Whiteside. It's like Hassan Whiteside, if he's on the floor for 34 minutes, I'm not saying that he will be, but in that matchup, Whiteside could put up 50 points tonight. If he gets the minutes, that's his risk there, right? We all know fucking Whiteside. You never know. 22 minutes and you're like, what the fuck happened there? That type of shit. But the whole goal is for Harden to put up 55 and then Whiteside to put up 55. Or whoever. I mean, Devin Booker, Kawhi Leonard, one of fucking someone. But Harden's 11.5. Kawhi is what? 2,500 less. If you grabbed like a Tobias Harris, he puts up a 6x game. He puts up a 43-point game. That's where you're getting. That's so you have to overperform, right? To win GPPs in NBA DFS, you have to overperform your salary significantly, and depending on how you overperform, that'll determine. So like a 4K, if you're taking a 4K player and they overperform 7x, that may not be enough raw points. It may not be. You may need 10x out of them. Now with a top performer, a 10K player, you may just need 6x. May be good, but 6x for James Harden tonight is 70 fantasy points. So just understand that. Giannis is 11K. You're going to need 66 fantasy points, and then plus nail the rest of your lineup, of course. But a lot of people do this stars and scrubs build, and that's cash viable, That's what you do for cash, because you're just locking in points. You're going, fucking just give, if Harden gives me 45 and Giannis gives me 45, 50 points, they both give me 50 points each, and I just get 5x out of these 4K guys, puts me over the line, 55th percentile, good to go, fucking double up, fucking win 65% of my head-to-heads, and on to tomorrow. That type of shit. You need your studs to go nuclear in order to win GPPs with stars and scrubs lineups. And that happens. It does happen. But less of the time. That construction, if you back test it and ran it out a million times, will win GPPs less than balanced lineups where you manage to nail all the overperformers. Because the game is only going to be 48 minutes long. I mean, obviously with overtime, you don't know. So there's only so much that the people could score. There's only so much that they could go over their median projection. If someone's projected to play 37 minutes, like how many more minutes for their salary? It's already factored in to their salary how many minutes they're playing. If you're playing a 4K guy it was only factored in he'd play 18 minutes, but now he's going to play 24. But he's still only playing 24 minutes. A guy that's playing 24 minutes that isn't playing a center is not going to put up 50 points in 24 minutes. You need guys that 36 minutes. But you're taking a guy that was projected to play 30 that's now playing 38. So balanced lineups make less sense in cash. It depends on the slate, obviously. Sometimes you'll find that there are a lot of mid-priced options that are underpriced. That it's like, well, I could get 10% off here and 10% off there and 10%. There's so many 10% offers that, fuck it, you don't play a stud. But as we get into NBA season, where the sites adjust the pricing so it becomes more efficient, we know more, right? 2 months from now, it'll be kind of like the big value play is like fucking Jamal Crawford, I don't know, because everything's efficient, and then there's one guy's out of the rotation. It's like, okay, this guy is he's 4,300, but he really should be 4,900, and then they're 35% off because everything else is efficient. You could play bench players in NBA DFS in general. Just because they're on the bench doesn't mean it's still amount of minutes, right? Lou Williams will be coming off the bench and getting 30 plus minutes. Now, do you play that tonight for 6,400? Well, you have to figure that. Barton comes off the bench. There are guys that come off the bench and still see plenty of minutes. Just a matter of how much they cost. You don't care whether or not they start. And a lot of times you'll find, and this is why you need to use on-off tools, such as RotoGrinders Court IQ or NBA Wowie or wherever, Fantasy Labs, pretty much all the sites have on-off usage tools. You want to see whether or not a guy that's playing with the second unit primarily actually has higher fantasy points per minute than playing with the first team, because there's more mouths to feed, right? If like yesterday or something. I mean, I don't know about yesterday. Like even with the Warriors or whatever, it's like a guy that's on the second unit is more likely. Like once Curry and Durant and Clay is on, like no one's getting it. Nick Young ain't shooting that much, but coming off the bench playing just with Draymond, right? Maybe so. I mean, obviously the teams matter. I mean, it differs. So sometimes coming off the bench actually helps your fantasy points per minute, even if you're going to play slightly less minutes. It depends who closes games. You have to look at the rotations. I like looking at the game flows. That's what I do a lot of times the morning after. Like a lot of times I'm watching the NBA games, but I'm watching the play-by-play. I'll have one main game on at night that I'm watching, and then I put the NBA.com on my screens and see the play-by-play as it goes. So I could see who's in foul trouble, who went out, who came in, whatever. And if I miss something the next morning, I look through like a game flow tracker and go, okay, these guys played together, and then these guys came in, and then kind of get the story of the game, especially in the beginning of the season when some stuff is up in the air, and just see that. But then once the season gets progressing, you could use the on-off tools to go, if this guy's off and this guy's in, if Gary Harris and Barton are together with Murray, does that make a difference? Does Trey Lyles actually gain a boost on the second unit? You like that? Those types of things. And that's useful for GPP primarily. You're looking for his unexpected, 3% owned guys that may, just show up. Someone gets into foul trouble and all of a sudden they're in 32-minute roll off the second unit. Why do you do these when you can't watch? I don't even know what that means. I have no idea what the fuck that even means. Why do I do these if you can't watch? Why can't you watch? You're watching me now, right? Fucking watching me now. Know what the fuck is going on? Anyone have any questions? You could feel free to post questions. I'm just talking about very basic, fundamental stuff for NBA DFS. Oh, you're driving. I don't give a shit. Oh, so you just have the audio on. So I hope you get into an accident, right? You shouldn't be watching. It's safer not to watch. But that's NBA DFS. It's really not complicated. It's a math problem more than anything. And then another thing about in GPPs for NBA, in NBA, there are more negative correlations than positive ones. It's unlike, in general, unlike other sports. So in NFL, there's obvious correlations. Quarterback to wide receiver, running back and defense. Someone throws the ball, someone whatever. In NBA, obviously you have the guy that scores the points and the assist. But that happens on a very incremental level. And a lot of people on the team can get assists or shoot or whatever. That, I'm going to play 3 guys from the same team, and they're all going to get assists and whatever like that. But I mean, how much of the distribution of points are they all 3 together? To win a GPP, you need an outlier results. You need one guy to go off for 8x, that type of thing. So the likelihood of all 3 of these guys going 8x altogether, probably low. So that's negatively correlated, right? Think in terms of the actions on the court when you think of correlations, okay? Typically, there's nothing that's ever and always. I don't like playing front court players together on the same team and the other team as well. The center and the opposing center. Typically, I don't. Or even the power forward and the center of the same team, I try not to also. If Andre Drummond's getting 20 rebounds, I mean, there's only so many times that the other team's shooting the ball, right? I mean, so, if he's getting 20 rebounds, Blake Griffin's getting 3, right? All the power, and Anthony Tolliver is not getting them, right, on the second unit. Drummond's just grabbing all of them, right? And the opposing center is not grabbing those rebounds. They're going to be lower. Then also between the 2 centers, one could get into foul trouble, more likely than not. Centers get into foul trouble probably more than other positions. So you have a good center that's facing another good center, and this center's backup is fucking horrible, and this guy gets into 3 fouls in the first fucking half. The backup center comes in, and this guy fucking eats, right? So do you want to play the 2 centers opposing each other if you want to try to get an 8x score? Tolliver not on the team. See, that's what I'm saying. See, I don't know the players. He was on the team last year, right? That's what I said. I had to get used to who's what team now with all the free agency and shit. I know last year because I played it every day last year. Last year, Kufis and Randolph both went off and okay, it happens. Everything happens. Just like when I say scars and scrubs don't win GPP. It happens less often. Understand, I always talk in terms of probability. You should always think in terms of probability. Brock Osweiler and Albert Wilson stacks can win you the Millionaire Maker. How often will it make? Probably smaller than Ryan and Julio Jones together. It's a probability difference. I tend to play the probabilities, right? I tend to just, most likely this guy won't get a ceiling score and they both get it together. I don't want him, right? But a correlation in NBA are 2 sides of a game. And I'm not talking about game stacks. I'm talking about finding, if the game's going to be close and it's a high-scoring game, it's quite possible that a player from one team goes off for 8x plus, and an opposing player does also. Now, obviously, they're not correlated as far as passing the ball to one another, but they're correlated as far as the game environment is concerned. So that doesn't mean take 6 guys, take 3 from one team and 3 from the other team. You can on short slates. But as far as if you think X player on one team goes off, right? Well, in order to stay competitive and for the starters to remain on the court longer, the game's going to be close. So you figure there may be a guy on the other side of the ball that also puts up an 8x score, a 7K guy that puts up, 50 plus points. That's correlative. Typically of different positions, right? The only reason why Kufus and Randolph both went off because Cauley-Stein and Scal were both right. Okay, but that's a concept. Once you start taking people out, you have the pie. Remember the pie. Once you start taking people out that aren't going to be eating the pie, that means other people get bigger slices, right? You bring an apple pie to your office on a Tuesday, and fucking 20 people are there, and they all want a piece of pie. This pie's going to be fucking thin. You bring it on Friday before some 3-day weekend type of shit. Fucking Friday, you walk in, there's 6 people there. So everyone gets a much bigger piece of the goddamn pie. So that's what I mean. That's why you look the entire day of who's injured, who's out of the rotation, who's going to play. Minutes equal money. It's absolutely. There's no big events that anyone could do in 8 minutes to have a ridiculous score. There's no wide receiver that could come in for one play and get a 90-yard touchdown. You can't do that in NBA. So that's why a lot of times I see the mistake of people playing 8 guys off the bench types of players, right? On big slates where there are viable options. Where there are options of people that are at least going to be on the floor much more than that guy, right? There are some guys that come off the bench that are going to play 30 minutes and they're way underpriced and because they're a bench player. You could play those guys. It's a total amount of minutes. And in cash games, I want the most minutes. I want the most minutes in usage. I want the most high probability. I want to fill that up. Fill it up as much as I can with the most amount of opportunities that I could get. In GPP, I care more about efficiency of opportunity, right? This guy could walk into more minutes, could walk into more opportunities. Not necessarily efficiency of opportunity, like a guy that's going to shoot 18 for 20 from three-point range type of shit. But a guy that normally would see 24 minutes is now going to walk into 32 minutes. But his price reflects a 24-minute projection versus a 32-minute one. So his price should go up. But it doesn't. So you take advantage of it. That's NBA DFS. If you notice, I didn't mention player matchups, right? DVOA. I didn't mention any of that shit. Once you do all the stuff that I just talked about, then you look and you go, okay, who's going to break? How are we breaking tiebreakers now, right? I like this guy or this guy, but I can't play both of them. Which one do I play? Well, let me take a look at the matchup, right? Let me take a look to see if the defense who else is in, who's the backup, who can they come, like that type of shit. Coaching tendencies, and half the time you can't predict that shit either, right? Like tonight, there's Jimmy Butler's gonna play in spurts or whatever. It's fucking Thibodeau, right? Spurts can mean just 2 segments of 22 minutes, right? I mean, like we're talking about a guy that doesn't play this bench at all. So I mean, what are you going to take anything from that? He's 6,700 on DraftKings. I don't know how the fuck that is, right? I don't mean throw him into 100 lineups, but that's the type of shit. If Jimmy Butler's going to play 38 minutes, he shouldn't be 6,700. That's it. I mean, that's NBA DFS. I mean, just like that. That's it. That's all you need, right? That's all you fucking need. I never understand people's problems with NBA DFS because I think it's the easy. I mean, sometimes when you're playing at a high level and everyone fucking knows the basics, then it gets fun. Doesn't matter fun from a money perspective, but then it comes down to 2v2s. Then it comes down to which center did you take out of 2 $7,500 or $7,200 defenders. Did you take this point guard or that point guard? Did you play this construction or that construction? I played Harden in this, and you played Giannis in that, and I won by 4 points. That type of shit. That's at the high level. But the low level, for $3 double-ups, $1 double-up, fucking load in the goddamn opportunities, fucking run it out more times than you're going to win 60% of the time, right? There's enough people that make mistakes at that level that don't even fucking worry about it. If you're debating in your head, do I play X or do I play Y? It probably doesn't even fucking matter. Probably doesn't even goddamn matter.